Hey, everybody, welcome back to Five Boys in a Business, a podcast where we talk about the business, the family, and the many shenanigans involved. You can catch us most Mondays somewhere around now, 10:30,
10:30-ish. Yeah.
11. Actually, we're here early
Very early.
this week because we have a special guest with us.
We do.
I'm Emily King,
I'm Richie King.
and we have got special guest Tommy Faust with us this week. Super excited to have him here. You want to read his bio and tell everybody a little bit about him?
Sure. Dr. Tom Faust is an accomplished concept to execution leader with expertise in new product innovation and development. His proven ability to drive game-changing results in startup growth, enterprise, and global organizations has led to success at all levels. He has solid experience developing systems and approaches that contribute to the success of the P&L through category expansion and product service business roadmaps, while always with an eye to enhancing customer experiences and improvement on delivery. He has also built multiple peak performance business teams for his other endeavors and for others, including the remarkable executive team of 3OE Scientific, of which he is founder and CEO. 3OE Scientific has recently won the Miro Award for Best Tech in Indiana, and 3OE's first product, Iggy, has been selected to be featured on CBS television series Designed by America. The Designed by America episode featuring Iggy airs July 10th, 2021. on CBS, and the winner will be announced on the last episode of the series on July 17th, 2021. Dr. Faust is also involved with the company Smooth and Groom. Their first product is the Fur Hero, which is an effective and easy-to-use pet grooming tool. Dr. Faust is also co-founder of Centric Indiana Innovation Network, Day of Innovation in Indiana, and the Indiana Innovation Awards. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Faust.
Wait a second, though. I think his most important job is he's the husband of
Yes.
our amazing veterinarian, Dr.
Dr.
Allison
Faust. Yes. We should have
Yes.
let her
So
know
there's that.
That's
So
a gift.
okay, that's a gift.
There you go.
She's an amazing woman.
Yes, she is.
So what's she like to work with?
Oh, she's amazing to work with. We love Dr. Faust. So we actually like Dr. Faust so much that we named a part of the building after her. So it's Faust Island.
Yes. Her own wing.
She has her own island.
That's good.
That came about because she felt like she was on an island when she first started working here, because I was working on the other side of the clinic, and I wasn't really thinking about the fact that I was isolating her to a whole separate area. And I was trying to be, I think, polite, like staying out of the way, and instead it backfired and I was being whatever, and so we named it Faust Island. That's where it came from. So there you have it.
Your own wing and no donation. Isn't that great?
That's amazing. Yeah, where does that happen? That never happens, right? Okay, so tell us, because you are one of my favorite people, because you're always fun to be around. You have amazing stories. You're so complimentary to everybody that you're around. You make people feel good when you're around. I always feel good when I'm around you. So, how did you get that way? No, just kidding. No, really, seriously, like, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of.
Well, before we started just a few minutes ago, Rich and I were laughing and talking about where you grew up. If ever you're middle-aged or older and you go back to where you grew up, you're like, oh, that's not how I remember it. That was a huge hill that I used to run down. It's maybe a 3-foot drop.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And I go back to my home, and if you go to our bedroom my brother and I grew up in, there were 2 twin beds in there, and then the floor space was about the size of that tabletop right there.
All right.
But that was normal. I mean, it was like you grew up with that kind of thing. And so
Where did you grow up?
in Anderson, Indiana.
Anderson, Indiana.
Anderson, Indiana. Yeah. They've had some hard times.
They really have.
Yeah. Once Delco left and GM left, it hit hard times. Still is.
When I was in high school, we'd go up to Anderson and play. Isn't that where the TP was?
Yeah, the Indian wigwam.
Wigwam.
Yeah.
I just always remember going up there.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd see that, and it was.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I remember about Anderson.
Yeah, I went to Anderson High School.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was an amazing school. Very few graduated, it seemed like, but yeah. The graduation rates weren't great then. They aren't great now. It's really sad, but it was a place. That's where I grew up, and then I realized later, I was telling Richie that I was in college, and I realized, oh, I grew up in poverty.
I think that happened to my parents too.
They talked about that.
It's like my father died when I was young, and my mom raised 4 kids on her own, and it's just just amazing. But whatever you grow up in, it's always everything's orthodox to themselves. Everybody's orthodox to themselves. John Locke, it's
Right.
and so you grew up in that kind of environment, and you are thankful for everything that comes your way. So, yeah.
And where from there? What were your next steps?
Oh man, Johnson City, Tennessee, for 6 years, and then Norfolk, Nebraska, and then Birmingham, England, 14 years. Well, Birmingham, and then Worcestershire and Warwickshire. There you go. We need to tell people how to say it's not Worcestershire.
Right.
It's Worcestershire. All right.
Yeah.
Worcestershire, Warwickshire, and then back to Indiana. I never thought I'd be back in Indiana. Once you've lived all over
Right.
the world, it's like, I love Indiana and making my home here and love it. That's
cool.
our company's based here, both of them. Want to be an Indiana company, support Hoosiers and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think that Indiana, am I right or wrong? I mean, I feel like they've done a good job of attracting tech back to the state, right?
They sure
Is
have.
that one of their like pushes or
man.
one of the things that they're trying to do?
Yeah, I've been working with the IEDC and the sad part about in innovation in Indiana is they're very myopic. They see tech as SaaS, software as a service. That's the primary tech.
Right.
They don't understand product development. So I didn't get much help from a lot of resources that others get help from because they don't understand us. And so, but the Mira Award, we just got Tech Product of the Year with Mira Award. And, we love partnering with them, love partnering with all the Indiana people that we have and organizations. Got a lot of great investors with the company. But Indiana is making a large, concerted, fine effort to bring innovation to Indiana. They sure are. This new Tech Point, 16 Tech,
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tech Point is too, another great group.
So what is tell us about the product, the Iggy product.
Yeah, it started a long time ago when I was at another company, and they brought me in to do all their innovation for all their products and brands and services and businesses. And they said, "Hey, we got some of these technology we're looking at. What do you think of them?" Well, it was ozone in a faucet. So think about a faucet in your home that you could sanitize a cutting board or your hands, in 30 seconds. And we were like, whoa, wow, guys, is this for real? And so I got a hold of technical people. They explained it to me. I'm like, this is groundbreaking. So as a result, we started doing a lot of marketing research and consumers, and consumers didn't get it. Wait, that's dangerous, isn't it? Ozone atmosphere? Well, it's a different kind of ozone completely. But when I was doing that marketing research, some medical doctors got a hold of me and said, do you understand how powerful this could be as a medical device? I'm like, unpack that for me. Tell me what you mean. And so we started moving down the med device pathway. Well, that was further and further apart from the company's core competency. So what we did, we sub-licensed from them. I started another company. We sub-licensed from them and took that. That was December of 2018. And so then of course, we're heading down the medical device pathway. The pandemic hits, which is horrible for everybody. But man, we started getting all these inbound calls. Can we buy that product? Can we buy that product?
Sure.
And it switched from being a faucet to, here's the learning curve. Can you hold your hands out like that and spread your fingers apart? Yes. You put them inside this device. It's got a hood over it. And there's a bunch of spray chips in there that have aqueous ozone inside of it. And so the hands are sanitized in 7 seconds for the med device. And for our ozone is known to kill all kinds of bacteria, viruses, spores, all that kind of stuff. And we create aqueous ozone in this device.
Crazy.
So then we've got $8 million of POs in hand, and
Wow.
we did a huge pivot. We're still doing the med device for the FDA. We submit to them it's called a de novo pathway in July, late July this year. And we should have it by the end of this year. But in the meantime, we've got a public health device that we're selling for schools, office buildings. Just keep going. Sports stadiums, veterinarian offices. Our clients are people who have hands.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's like
vaguely.
wherever you want to go. It's restaurants. I mean, I can just keep going and going and
Oh,
going.
yeah.
So it's been fun ride. And again, we thank the Tech Point and Mira Award people for the honor of being selected as Tech of the Year. And then we're also CBS Television, America by Design. We're going to be on that show. We were selected as one of the best designs in America.
That's cool.
So it's a 6-series TV show starting this month. And our episode is on July 10th. and then the winner's announced July 17th. I don't know if we're the winner. I'm hoping we're on the July 17th show as well.
Yeah.
But we're definitely
Sure.
on July 10th on CBS America by Design.
That is
So that's
so cool.
That's now. Here's the fun part. The tech is miniaturizing how to create aqueous ozone. Remember the old VHS cassette tapes?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about that size. So it's at point of use. I can do this anywhere. So as a result, this is just the first product of many. We just signed a contract with Mayo Clinic. We're going to be building an irrigation for wounds device for knee and hip replacement. And so we're working with them to create a new device for that. And I mean, just keep going. There are dozens of products that will be coming out over the
Yeah,
next few
that
years.
have that application.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
you just like basically modify it to meet those other.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
It's called a platform of products based around this technology.
Huh.
It is,
Interesting.
it is fascinating how as terrible as the events of the recent year have been, they have brought to the forefront things like personal hygiene,
Oh,
washing your
man.
hands, and you know what I mean, things that you knew about, you sort of took for granted, but now all of a sudden it's really important.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that we were worried about before the pandemic. We were like, how are we going to train people to want to wash their hands, to believe they need to?
Sure.
Well, that's been taken care of.
Yeah,
us,
that basically,
and,
solved
and then
that
once you get into the science of it, soap doesn't kill bacteria and viruses and fungi. It's a surfactant. That's why there's no antibacterial soap out there anymore, because it was destroying the good bacteria in the water drains and the water systems. So the FDA made them stop producing that. So all it is the action of rubbing your hands together, and it draws the bacteria to the surfactant. And then when you rinse it, it goes down the drain. You're not killing it. And alcohols, gels, and foams don't work. I mean, they've been put on watch by the FDA, and many of them have been taken off because they haven't gone through the science to prove it. Well, that's why it's taken us so long. It's taken us 18 months here, a little longer, to get all the testing done for the FDA. So that's why it's 3OE scientific. 3O, 3 elements of oxygen using electricity, 3OE to make the ozone, and then scientific. Everything's based on the science for us. So, I mean, we kill C. diff, MRSA, coronavirus, influenza. There's dozens and dozens we've tested. You can only claim what you test, so we keep testing all the time, new and new, more and more.
That's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into wanting to do like all of these different like innovative? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you?
Yeah, when I came back from Europe, was looking to transition back into the country, and a friend of mine, Richard Clark, introduced me to another guy named Jerry McColgan. And one guy was a minister, Richard Clark was a minister, and Jerry McColgan was in business. He goes, hey, I think this guy might be good. And what Jerry did, he had a company called Insight 2. It was actually called McColgan Consulting, but then it was later Insight 2, where we worked with companies all around the world. You go in and they want to raise their income. They want to go from a $200 million company to $1 billion company, or from $1 billion to $5 billion, or whatever. So we would go in and say, all right, well, here's your core competencies right now. Here are natural extensions out of those. And we would come up with new products, new businesses, new services. We got to do the Indianapolis Zoo. So all those changes over the years, the zoo were as a result of our report and what we went in and did. I mean, lighting, just every kind of product you can imagine. Hand tools, dark gardening tools. And so I'm found what we discovered was I'm really good at like putting obscure things together. this over here I know, this over here I know. What if we put those together? Hey, look, you got something brand new. And so ended up doing that for a lot of companies. And then I'm like, I'll never forget this one company. They launched $50 million the first year for a product that I came up with. And I went, I'm going to do this for myself.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I started 3 companies, and 3OE is one of them. We'll get to the other one here in a minute, but like, that was one of them. I'm like, I'm going to do this for me. So yeah. So I'm good at like, my brain's just like all over. And if you allow your brain to just kind of look through it instead of just at it, that's the other key for me. It's just like you look through it and like, well, what else could you do? Well, what else could you do with that? What else could you do? And then if you believe there are limits, then there are.
Right.
If you don't think there are any limits, then there aren't.
Right.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
cool.
It's interesting. I heard a guy say something similar to that the other day. He was talking about kids and how their minds are so open. He's like, you know, he's talking about his grandson specifically. He said, I have a complex problem, and I'll just say, hey, go fix this. And before you know it, within an hour, he's out there doing something completely outside the box because he's not self-limiting, to your point.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that kind of, gosh, what's the word?
Fear
Cynic, like the
or
cynicism,
cynic.
you know, that you sometimes get as an adult.
Cynicism is the safe form of fear.
Right.
Fear of failure. NASA did a huge research on children and creativity, and you're exactly right. From age earliest on to like age 5, 90% per creativity, solving problems. Once they start growing and as they get older, it's dropping like crazy until you get to adulthood, and it's like almost impossible to solve problems because of these fears. Think about a typewriter or a computer. A little kid will just go in there and start playing with
Messing
it. and
around
doing
with it. Yeah.
No adult's going to just start hitting numbers randomly. You know, they're afraid to make a mistake, and
Right.
so you limit your own capacity there. You know, so
So how did you get over the fear of failing or the fear of making a mistake or it not being successful? Or
it took me a long. I have 2 mantras that I had to say over and over again all day, every day for years. It really doesn't matter. Just let it go.
right.
Right.
Because if you think about it, if it really, what that matters? Not a lot. My faith,
Right.
my spouse,
Sure.
my family. That's about it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, and then just having fun, literally just have fun with it.
Right.
You do the ridiculous ideas that you're laughing at, and then, but you don't ever say no. And you just build on it. Okay, but what if? What if we did this? What if we did that? You know, and that's how, just going and having fun and playing and being surrounded by the right people. I won't brainstorm with negative people.
Right.
Don't waste my time. You know, it's like, ugh, just threw up my mouth a little bit now. You know,
Right.
Ooh.
Well, isn't that funny? They'll say things. People say, "Don't ever take a new business idea to an accountant or a lawyer because they'll give you 50 reasons why not to
Why
do
not
it."
to
You
do
know,
it.
They're critical in the sense
Sure.
of word of trying to find holes in it. That's exactly
Right.
right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Like in the investing in the company right now, it's like we've been really successful. But like if people say, well, I'm going to go talk to my financial advisor, I'm laughing. I'm like, you please do that. You need to do your due diligence.
Sure.
But you need to understand that they're probably going to tell you no because this is high risk.
Sure.
If we're successful, it's high reward.
Right.
So don't put anything in here. You have to be a qualified investor, first of all. And secondly, if you do, you need to anticipate that you're never going to see it back, that we could go belly up because it's high risk. But if we're successful,
The upside's big.
the upside is very big. Yeah.
Those angel investor. I mean, it's fascinating to see these people that got involved. And I'm sure, they take 10 swings for every hit, but it's that hit, that one at bat that makes, these people, I've heard people talk the angel investors into Uber or Facebook or, the big hitters. I mean, you make it back and.
Why do they call them angel investors?
That's a good question. I don't know. I've heard that term. I think it's just because, why is that? Do you know why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our first round was angel investors. So
Okay.
it was convertible debt round, and 2.5 million. We raised 2.6. It's called angel investors because they literally are not doing a lot of due diligence. Typically, they're family and friends who love you,
Right.
and the company or the idea, and so it's like a gift from heaven. It's like if you do the hard science of it and run the numbers, you've got no value, and you're making these claims based on future
Earnings, yeah.
future earnings and future potential, and there are all these risks. And so the other thing about that is, like, be savvy investor. It's like many companies don't treat their angel investors very well. Our company's not going to do that. We're going to treat them extremely well because they've taken the highest risk, so they ought to get the highest reward,
Sure.
which is often not a typical view with a lot of companies. They've not done well to their angel investors. So that's kind of fun. The investing is fun. I've learned a lot. And what you just said is so true. You get people who are like, they hear it, they're all in. And that early round, the angels, they believe in you and the team.
Right.
Now it's like, now that we've got success, we've got $8 million of POs in hand, and we've got $50 to $70 million of sales, it looks like, this year. Well, the risk is far less than
Sure.
it was when those early investors. So these are equity
Right.
around. So it's fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So how many people do you have working with you or under you?
Well, employees, there's probably 8 or 9. But then we've got a lot of contract workers, and God bless all the lawyers and
Right.
accountants in the world.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I, 4 or 5 teams of lawyers, and that kind of thing. And
Well, it's complex with all the FDA stuff, and
Oh.
I'm sure the
SEC,
yeah, I mean, all the,
you
yeah,
got
that's big. The
Yep.
SEC is the big.
you want to follow all these guidelines and rules and do it. And we're transitioning from an LLC to a C corp, but I think we're going to do a B corp, and that's where it's called a benefit corporation, because what a lot of the C corps were finding out was that you have a fiduciary responsibility to make money, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, B Corp says, whoa, wait a minute. There's more to life than just making money. Yes, you have a fiduciary responsibility to make money, but like if there is some huge humanitarian decision against making money here, you've got to be able to have that leeway without being sued.
Sure.
So we're going to be moving toward a B Corp in about 6 months or so, because we believe our value is do good in the world.
Right.
It's like, we took actually biblical values and made them our core values, that and have fun every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting to see. You mentioned something that kind of reminded me of 20 years ago. It was, you're taught in school, your corporation's main job is to maximize shareholder price.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
but
And if you
then-
didn't do that, you're in trouble.
right, and you would, really in trouble. You have like derivative suits and things that'll come in. Shareholders come in and say, you are not managing the company properly. You're damaging. I'm suffering an economic harm.
Correct.
So, and you'll get sued. And National Steel, when I interned there, that they had a bunch of derivative suits from people coming in saying, so anyway, it's fascinating to see that tension now. Socially, you see people moving more. Okay, yes, we should maximize shareholder price to a point, not at the expense of stakeholders.
Correct.
Ancillary
Correct.
stakeholders.
Correct. Yeah. And folks, here we are, an accountant and lawyer right here.
Oh well, no, but it's fascinating to see that. I mean, because you do see, you see,
No, I get it.
socially and politically, a lot of people bringing that to the forefront now and saying,
Yeah.
you should have a greater duty to society other than just
Correct.
focusing solely on shareholder price.
Correct.
Well, isn't that what they changed the name of stakeholders, shareholders? They did something where they
Well,
called them
shareholders,
something different than
yeah, I
something
mean,
else or something.
Well, yeah, and the stakeholders, at least in my mind, if you are positive or negatively affected by by the outcome, or like, for instance, if you produce sneakers, but then, you produce them in China, for instance, or some lower, cost place to produce, those are technically stakeholders. I mean, people
Correct.
that are,
Even the people who buy it are stakeholders.
Right.
Even the people who,
if you are within that orbit
Yeah.
of, that transactional kind of company or whatever. So, I mean, that's
shareholders are the ones who have financially invested in part of that company.
you have a financial stake.
An equity stake. Yeah.
But see, I mean, it's, when I was in undergrad, I remember we did a project, one of my finance classes, where it was like an early kind of computer thing, a case study, and you produce shoes. And one of the decisions you had to make was, do you keep production domestic or do you move it overseas and reduce costs? And it was never, it was never looking at working conditions. It's like, what's the
Correct.
cost?
Correct.
And to see that shift now, they're going, oh, wait a minute. Okay, maybe these working conditions, maybe there's a reason you can produce for 10 cents on the dollar over there versus here. You don't have the environmental concerns. You don't have the workers' rights, those kinds of things.
Exactly. And there were countries who were willing to do all those things on your behalf.
Sure.
That's, yeah.
Because they inject all that money in. You know what I
Correct.
mean? It's
Right.
capital that otherwise
It's
wouldn't
helping
come
the
in.
government at the cost of the laborers' backs.
Right. So anyway, very large
Yeah. There you
thought,
go.
but it was
Yeah.
interesting to see that shift.
So because I remember you had told a story once about
Oh,
the
gosh.
faucet, the like hand-free faucet,
Oh, yeah.
the development of that, right?
Yeah. I was at the company who developed that. They had done that just prior to me coming there, and it was one of the best inventions ever. I'll give you an example of how they got there. We hired a company to go out and do observational research, which is critical. You want to go see the user in their environment using the device. Well, if I want to go watch a faucet being made, I don't want to watch somebody use a faucet. I want to watch them cook a meal. All right. And I want to watch them cook the meal and clean up, because that's when the faucet's used. So how is that faucet in relation to the refrigerator, to the stove, to the grill, to, what's happening around that thing? So what happened, we saw these people coming in with these big turkeys. It was around Thanksgiving, coming in with these big turkeys in their hands, and they're reaching over to the faucet and trying to,
Use
with
their elbow
with
or
their
whatever.
elbow,
Right.
get that thing turned on. So here's how product development works. Ding, 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 ding. there's a it's compensatory behavior. So wait, you tell the engineers and designers, I got to have a faucet that can be activated without having to manually do it. Well, that either means capacitance or infrared or sonar,
Right.
basically.
Right.
And so you build prototypes to all those, try them all out, get consumers in, test them, see what they like, see what they love, and see what they hate. One of the fascinating things was at that time, people didn't believe like they wanted to be able to touch it.
Right.
They didn't want just to come near it, proximity. They wanted to touch it. They wanted control of it still. So at that time, you could have done proximity, but it wouldn't have sold nearly as well as the touch faucet. So the
Right.
touch faucet was developed. Delta Faucet was the company, and
Right.
and they started it, and they got a bunch of great patents around it. And some of those people are still there. They're brilliant engineers and designers, and so yeah, it's funny. So that's a great example of how you do product development. So I film everything because I want perfect memory. So when I'm there, I didn't film that one, but like we did a bunch of others, and we did, everything from toilets to showers to baths to everything. You go film it. And so the lawyers were like, you want to film what?
Right. Right.
And so, but you learn like crazy. It's just fascinating. It's,
And do you think that people's patterns are repetitive? Like people do the same thing, like regardless of people in general do similar habits.
what we found is over the years, like you can do what's called quantitative analysis, where it takes hundreds to determine a pattern. But with qualitative research, if you do 20 observations, you're going to hit 90% of what people do, And so I'll give you an example, a funny example. I don't know if I'll think of one I can tell. Well, no, here it is. People, we were doing brainstorming, and we had done the research. So I had been watching the film in advance. I was there on the interviews and talking to people. And then we I won't say what company, but we put in these cameras and people going to the restroom, to the toilet. We were wanting to learn how do you make a better toilet. And Bill Gates was in on this thing too. Went on, not with us, but like remember he was going to give that award for whoever come up with best design. And it was so funny because we're brainstorming, and 100%. Can I stand up?
Sure.
Can I stand
Yeah,
up?
go for it.
100% of men, when they go to the restroom, unbuckle, unbutton, unzip, and drop their trousers to the floor and sit down and go to the bathroom. 100% of the women unbuckled, unbuttoned, unzipped, and pulled their trousers to here. Did not go all the way down. And we're like, what the
weird.
heck is up with that? So
Right.
people were like, first of all, they were afraid to start talking about it because it's like you're talking about something that nobody talks about.
Right.
And so in product development, you can't be afraid to talk about anything, And so we were laughing so hard, and they were like, finally somebody said, and I knew what was going to happen, but I waited on them like, do guys really do that? That is so gross. And so the whole thing became, so everybody that day went home to watch their significant other go to the bathroom. Do they really do it? And they all came back and say, it's
Yeah.
exactly right.
That's
That's
right.
exactly what happens. And it's
Oh
like,
my
it was
gosh.
so funny, but like just learnings like that. So obviously the concept today is like, they're all designed for one. So I can tell you now that toilets still aren't anywhere near where they need to be.
Right.
It's like, and you talk about a male and female restroom, and the toilets are the same.
I see what you're saying.
Should
Yeah.
not be.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely should not be. But they'll get there one day. And
Yeah.
so and that's the other thing, that consumers can only handle so much change at a time too.
Sure.
So
It's fascinating to see that human behavior that's probably been around since the beginning of time.
Oh.
Yet we're just now recognizing, you know what I mean? From a consumer, you're studying it.
we're funny, and everybody thinks they're normal. Everybody believes they're normal.
Right.
And then when talking about a topic like that, in World War II, the spies from America were discovered in Europe like that because they take them out to meal. And in America, you'll take your fork and your knife, you'll cut up your meat, you'll lay the knife down, put your fork in your right hand and eat it. They don't do that in Europe. Fork is upside down, what we would call upside down. Knife is in the right hand. They cut it and they just eat it with straight in like that. So they knew immediately. And so, but we talk about eating and we see each other eat. So we are influenced by behaviors. I don't watch people go to the bathroom.
Sure.
I
Right.
don't watch. And so
Right.
everybody it's like from a family, and that family thinks that they're normal, and it's like, so we saw all these different behaviors that were like all over the place. You're like, oh my gosh, that's new, you know.
Yeah.
And it was
That's
funny.
interesting.
So product development is like that. That's the most extreme example I can give, but you're looking for little nuances. Any compensatory behavior, man, that is a problem. If you solve problems, if you solve the user's needs, you've got a huge,
I think
huge.
So don't you think that's it for almost any company?
right.
Yeah.
Like even us. Do you know what I mean? Like here at the clinic, I mean, that's the primary objective, right? Is solving people's problems. You
Yeah.
can solve their problems and you can do it efficiently and
That constant chase to do it better all the time.
yeah.
Once somebody is in your system for 6 months, they're blind to it though. You bring in and
To
out
you solving the problem?
Well,
you mean, or you mean to
well, your problem may be the problem of the animal. I'll bet you there's problems with regard to, I'm just guessing, I haven't brought an animal in, but like the whole process.
Right.
I mean,
oh yeah.
They become
There's
used to the
always-
they become used to the process. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. And
Okay.
so
yeah.
you need an outside observer to come in and just go through that process and give you all feedback. That's how you do it. It takes an outside person
Right.
typically. Yeah.
To
'Cause
find where the problems
Any
are.
culture that's put together after 6 months, those who are in it are blind to everything about it,
Yeah.
you know, but
And that's where the
It's fun.
opportunities lie. I think
Oh, yeah.
because especially from a client service experience standpoint, you can always be better. And I think that to your point about it's the small things that make such a big difference.
correct.
And when someone does stand out from the crowd, it does trigger something in your brain and go, oh, I really like that.
Correct.
It makes my life easier, whatever it is. And that constant move or, that constant motion towards being better
Yeah.
and improve quality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's why I think one of the things in leadership they were talking about was those, because with the VGP goals, and one of the
Sure.
things was improving the hiring experience and And one of the onboarding things is interviewing people that we've hired within at the 30-day mark, like asking them questions because they are a fresh set of eyes.
Right.
Do you know
That's
what I mean?
a great way of doing it.
Right.
That
And
is a
so that was
great
one of
way
the
of doing
things of just to gather information because they
Correct.
haven't been in here, but
They have brand new eyes on what's going on.
yeah, and they have new ideas or different
Yeah.
ideas
Or,
versus
yeah.
somebody that's been in the facility for.
You just get used to it because it's the way it is and it's the way it's always been done or what. And that information I think is so key and invaluable in so many different contexts,
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes as leaders are people, you fear that information, but you really should crave it. You
Yeah,
really should crave
correct,
that
exactly.
because you have to,
Don't
you
be afraid of it.
Right. You don't know what to fix or what's working, what's not necessarily until you get that feedback. I mean,
Yep.
not only from a HR perspective, but from a consumer,
Absolutely. And the other ones you want to talk to are those who left or don't buy your tickets anymore, or who
Sure.
don't, why did you leave? What's going on? And because then you want that negative input. We used to do concept testing all the time where you take a basic concept and you'd put it out to the users. You'd identify who the people were targeting to buy this. Let's see if I can get them all. You do it on likeness, meets a need, so likability meets a need, uniqueness, purchase intent, and one more, and then you have them rank them, and you can see if you had a pretty good concept, and you can be pretty confident you're going to be successful if you took it to market.
Sure.
Because before you put resources behind it,
Yeah.
do we want to? But the most valuable was, what do you like most about this concept? And then the most valuable, what do you like least about this concept?
Mhm.
Because then you've got all this design input.
Right.
It's like, and they're telling you how to build your product. So
Right.
we did that a lot for several companies I had worked with. Yeah.
You mentioned this weekend, we were just casually talking. You said how much you like PayPal. And I thought, this is fascinating because you sort of said it's
this
so
weekend?
much
Oh, when
easier.
I
I don't
was
want
buying stuff,
yeah,
surprise,
you don't have to go,
surprise.
I don't have to go get my card. And I thought, what's fascinating about that? Just that casual conversation is that you take a consumer experience and grease the skid, the interface. You make that interface as easy as possible, and people are much more likely to transact.
Oh, yeah.
Because you take
That's
that barrier away. You go,
Yes.
oh, this is easy, or
Yes.
or like Uber or something where you go, I have my phone, I'm already
Yep.
living through my phone, I need a ride, click, bam, he's there in
Exactly.
10 minutes, I'm out. See you.
Yeah.
It's that ease of use, and I think
Yep.
that's where some of these products that are revolutionary, really. I mean, when you think about
That's-
how people used to
That's it exactly.
transact, PayPal, Venmo, these things, it's so easy.
Yeah.
to just do it. And I think that's really what
Well, you
what
take the
sells.
washing of the hands thing. Like, it sounds stupid, but like taking 3 minutes to go wash your hands
Or 7 seconds.
versus just going in there, putting your hands up, going on to your next task.
95% of people do not wash their hands correctly.
Yeah.
And at the same time, 95% of people think they do wash their hands correctly.
Oh yeah, I would buy that. Yeah.
No, but
And-
that's
and
where a
you're in a
product-
hurry. You're always in a
Right,
hurry.
but that's
like,
where a
here,
product
I'm always
like
in a
that-
hurry. I'm like, on to the next thing.
It just, I mean, you get
Yeah.
a sanitized final product within 7 seconds. And I think those kinds of things are brilliant in that they kind of turn the market on its head.
Here's the other piece of that is like when you use foams and gels and soap, what happens to your hands?
Dried out.
Dry them out.
Yeah.
This softens the hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, who was co-founder of PayPal?
Elon.
Musk.
Elon.
Elon Musk.
What did Peter Thiel do? Was he PayPal?
I think he was involved in that, wasn't he?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was. I
Elon.
think
Elon Musk is like involved in everything.
No, but if you ever
Is
listen
there
to Elon,
anything that he is not involved with?
and
that-
he's been on Rogan a few times, and I've listened to him talk, and he talks in a very clipped kind of manner.
Yeah.
And he said, Rogan said something, made a joke like, "What's it like to be in your head?" He goes, "You don't want to be in my head."
Yeah.
He goes, he has so many ideas all the time in such a revolutionary way. Even the way he describes what they're currently doing. We're doing this. We're talking about like
The
a brain
drilling
interface.
company.
Yeah.
Going to Mars.
Yeah, I mean, an interface between your phone and your mind, basically, because your interfaces are your fingers or your voice, and being able to think and interact with the computer instantaneously through thought. I mean, it's just insane. Things that are so revolutionary that
You
you
can't
even
land a
imagine.
rocket standing up.
I know, right? But that's what's so brilliant about today, right?
The
You watch
impossible
these
takes me
things,
just a little longer.
right? But all you need, to your earlier point about being creative and breaking down those barriers, you just need somebody to say, "Well, let's see watch us."
I can assure you that I don't know, but I've done product development enough that like some of those rockets that blew up were intentionally blown up to test limits,
Sure.
to test possibilities. It's
Right.
like you're learning on every one of those things.
And he said that. He's like, "Now we know.
Correct.
We know this." I mean, they probably have a huge chart of functions.
Correct.
And they're going, okay, so we're just going to work on this function. If we lose it, we lose it. But we'll
Correct.
know more about
But
the
we'll
function.
know about exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
That's
it's
what
fascinating.
prototyping is for, is to fail fast. You want to fail as fast as you can.
Yeah. That's cool. It's an
Yeah.
exciting time for
Yeah.
sure.
It's so weird.
It's cool though. I
Yeah.
think, it's amazing though, because you think about we were talking about our grandparents this weekend, or I was talking to Calvin or something about it. And I thought their world was so different. Like my grandfather's World War II,
Oh,
veteran.
man.
Their work. Can you imagine what they saw, and their parents even, from horse and buggies to transatlantic flight and the things that just we can't even dream of, which fascinates me because I think what in 30 years could we not dream of today that'll be commonplace? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
things, the world's moving. I only think I think it'll just move faster.
Incredibly so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other view of that is that technology keeps going till we run out of power.
No, right. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's a switch back to whole different kind of times,
Well, and they talk about the electric car, the push for electric cars, and I've read articles, and they're like, "Listen, there's not a grid. The grid can't support that kind of right this time unless they make radical changes." So while they would love to outlaw, internal combustion cars in
Right.
California,
Right.
what are you going to do for grid power when
It's an
everybody's charging
interesting
the car?
dilemma.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So solvable problem, but
I was
an
gonna say
issue.
somebody will solve that problem eventually.
Which actually goes back to Elon, which I've heard people say Tesla was really about battery research.
Oh, probably.
He said because they theorized that in 30 years, everyone will have a battery pack in their house that's solar powered, and that's your peak power source.
That
It's
makes
not going to be the
sense.
grid. He said, and that's where they're really going with this. Is not
Who are
cars.
Elon Musk's parents? Like, were they like? Is he just like? An
Oh, I
anomaly?
follow her on Twitter. I follow his mom on
Oh,
Twitter.
really? Like, are they
He's
like?
from South Africa, though, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Are they just
Yeah.
like normal people like you and I? Somebody who has Elon Musk? Are they themselves like really like?
But maybe somebody, Elon Musk, though, is just a unique guy, and just like an Albert Einstein. I mean,
That's what I mean. Like, is it just like a
Just
anomaly
maybe, yeah.
almost? Like
maybe that,
fascinating.
yeah.
he's just so. It's just weird. I feel like he is that person of this
Era.
time period.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
weird.
And you could argue even more impactful. I mean, in terms of world change.
So you know what else today is, right?
What?
It's National Flag Day.
Hey, look at that! I did not know that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't know that. I need to. Well, my flag's out.
So funny because our flag, I bought a flag, a replacement flag for our front porch, and I wasn't paying attention to the size. And I've got a Tennessee flag there, as I always do, and it's like 30% larger the American flag is than my Tennessee, so they don't really match. It's like this big sheet out there waving in the wind.
It's like 4x6. Or
Yeah, it's
something.
crazy. I wasn't, so I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, so the other two, you mentioned there's 2 more companies.
Yeah, one was my consulting company, SDG International, and obviously as 3OE CEO, I put that on the wayside because the opportunities here with this are just incredible. Yeah, I mentioned how much we've got 8 million in POs in hand, and we're anticipating 50 to 70 million dollars this year. So it's like I am all hands on deck. And then the other company was a pet grooming product, which you've had. You brought in the one that we gave you to trial out a few months ago, and Smooth and Groom. It's for pets, and so we worked with Butler University, handed over to Lily. Was a hairdresser, the gal who originally had the idea, and she's working with a young man from Purdue University. So the two of them have taken over the company. I'm still helping them and that kind of thing, but it's just a fun little tool. Again, it started out for humans, but then we found out it worked on pets so much better. And we're like, oh my goodness, especially around the eyes and getting mats out. And it's got a razor blade in there, but it's completely safe because it's got plastic teeth around it. So yeah. So, well, you tell about it. What did you use it for? There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
give it back to you.
We used it a lot when like I was mentioning earlier, when we had patients under anesthesia, because you had asked us, hey, play around with this, kind of a thing. And mats, I think is very helpful for mats around the face. Yeah. Because we do a lot of dentals, and then there's water, and then there's, you know what I mean? So like we brush them out. And so it was just more efficient from that standpoint. Yeah. I'm brushing them out with that type of debris. It gets the debris, that collects when you're doing those types of procedures. So that's why it's in the drawer by the dentist where we do the dentistry.
Got it.
So do people just come to you and pitch ideas to you? Is that what they do?
I get that all the time. Yeah.
Do you have your own Shark Tank? You just kind of show up?
Well, it's, most of the time it's like, I'll listen to anybody once for free, and I'll try to point them in the right direction, but I love networking. So if they hear what I do, I get that a lot.
Right.
So I normally don't talk about what I do because I don't want to hear their ideas.
Right.
I've got enough of my own,
Right.
So it's like being a vet, I'm sure. Oh, my dog, my cat, it's your best friend now too. And you're like,
yeah.
It usually starts with, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
That's usually where it starts. You're right.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny, but I love doing it. And, and there's a lot of help out there. There really is, it's like I just said, we partnered with Butler University, and they've got this innovation think tank going on. We has just partnered with 16 Tech. Man, you talk about great innovations there. And so there's a lot of good networking that goes on, and I can usually point somebody to the right place. So yeah, every now and again, there's something comes on a bit. Oh,
right.
Again, what I'm looking for is like, does it meet a lot of needs?
Sure.
If it meets needs people have, that's the key. I mean, there's just no way around that. Now, I'm not the one that thought that up. I mean, companies like IDEO have been out there forever, human-centric design and all that. So, but yeah, it's good fun.
That's really cool.
I think there was a guy that said this, it's been a few years ago. He said, in the future, you'll sell people their time back for a premium. And I think all the services that we consume, I mean, from the mundane to grocery delivery, things that save you so much time that I'll pay whatever, a nominal fee for that. And but yet it saves me 2 hours a week or whatever, and those kinds of, even at the most base level, I mean, the services that you never thought would, they probably existed a long time ago, but now they've kind of come, especially with the pandemic and not want to be in public. Those things have really come to the fore, and I'm sure foot traffic is way down in some of those big brick and mortars.
I'm sure. One of the things I realized a long time ago that helped me was I figured out how much my time was worth per hour.
Right.
And any task that somebody else could do for me for that much or less, I'm paying to have it done.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay focused on my stuff, and so that really helped me to like hire out a lot of different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because then you're focusing on your core
skill set,
adding value.
Yep, that nobody else can do.
Yeah, see, I think, and that's one of the things that we've tried to do here with the veterinarians is
Right.
you're the only one who can do this particular job. There's 3 people who can put in a catheter, or there's 3 people who
Exactly.
can. Do you know what I mean? And so
That's brilliant.
staying, and they teach you about that, but I don't know if they necessarily teach you about it. You know what I mean? As far as in school, like you want to be doing just veterinary jobs or skills.
Part conceptually, just not from a practical
Right.
standpoint.
It's letting go of control, isn't it, too?
Yeah.
Right.
But to let go of control, I got to have somebody I believe could do that just as good or better than me.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you got to raise the standard of the people that are working with you, because it's like, they got to be as good or better than me in that area, or I'm not going to use them.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we had a technician apply who came in for a job, and one of the reasons she's looking for another place to work is that they're not using her skills. I mean,
Wow.
and so,
And that fits you all perfectly.
you know what I mean? And so it's like,
Right.
I think that trickles down, like in our industry, from the veterinarian to the technician to the veterinary assistant. You know what I mean? There's everybody, you should be doing what you should be doing.
That's going to change
And that
industry
pushes
wide.
work,
Yeah, as you get more. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that'll
But
change.
anyway, yeah, I think it's a general concept.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
What?
no, nothing. No, I think it's great though, because that's what, and I say I think that's going to change is because I think you have a lot of decentralization still in the vet world, in vet med. So you have a lot of, this place does it their way, this place does it this way, and not a lot of standardization. I mean, from a procedure, like a
Sure.
process
Sure.
system standpoint, which larger companies usually have. I mean, they've studied it, they've done time studies, they've said X, Y, Z. I mean, so they can come in and say, we're going to standardize this across our 100 operations, so you don't centralization leads to more efficiencies through the systems and the processes.
Well, I'm looking at it from the outside at All Star.
Right.
Obviously, I am married to probably your best vet. I'm the spouse. Of probably.
Do you agree, Dr. Faust?
I want to say all the other names of the vets because they're going to get on me later, I'm sure, for this. But it's like y'all are growing like crazy. I mean, you've added staff, you've added room here. It's like you're growing like crazy. So you're doing the right things. And I know that from an outside perspective, allowing Dr. Faust, Allie, and others to be a vet and actually to be able to practice medicine is a huge thing, because so often that unfortunately in the veterinary world, it's you don't get that privilege. So you guys are doing a lot, and you're doing it well, and you're growing like crazy. And I hear good things at home, so all
good.
the time.
Well, a
good.
continual quest for,
Greatness.
to be better. I
Yeah.
think there's always.
It never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends, which is good.
Yeah, correct.
It
Yeah.
never ends. I mean, you got
Yeah.
that constant
Chase.
constant chase.
Okay, so we'll wrap up the podcast here, but one of the questions that we always ask our guests, do you want to ask it?
Yes, if you could go back and talk with your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them?
I should have been prepared for that, because I watched some of these, and
I had to remind myself because that. Yeah, go ahead.
So I would say you're better than what you think you are.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because everybody at that age, it's like Allie and I are working with kids, all the time, and mentoring and that kind of thing. And it's like, something that happens to you as a child, when you're an adult, you're like, well, that's nothing. But when you're the child, it's like,
Oh, sure.
puppy love. It's real to the puppy,
Right.
So,
Right.
Right.
so it's like I would, if I could go back, I'd say you're better than what you think you are.
Right.
It's like not in an arrogant way, but just, it's like, oh,
Right.
because those things that beat you down, they're lies.
Sure.
I come from a faith perspective, so I would say it's a lie from the enemy, trying to continually stop you from being all you can be.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you do gain that as you get older too. Is that you're way better than you think you are, and that
Yeah.
to your earlier point about things not really mattering, and there's so many things that you focus on that 5 years removed, you're like, it doesn't really matter. I wasted so much mental energy on that.
Correct.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a fellow say it to me much later in life, Leslie Newbin, famous missiologist. Don't overestimate your enemies.
Right. That's true.
That's the other way around.
Right.
It's like, be your best and don't overestimate your enemies. And most of the time that comes from inside your own head.
Sure.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
self-limiting kind
Yeah,
of.
your
I'll
self-destruction.
give an example that my poor wife, she's heard me say this a couple times, I'm sure, but like I'm at I was flown into this conference to be a part of it, and you flew into Washington, and they took me on the private jet up to this ranch, and I'm with these world leaders, and I go, the guy that was leading us was an incredible gentleman, and we're had a break, and he's at the bar serving everybody, and he goes, "What would you like, Dr. Faust?" And I said, "Well," I said, "I love that wine over there, but it's not open, so I'll just have this one here." He had a bottle in his hand at a time. He put the bottle down, and he goes, "Don't ever let anything like that come out of your mouth again. You don't believe you're worth that bottle of wine." Oh,
Yeah.
and I was like, there's a huge difference between arrogance and confidence. And finding that balance is where you want to be.
Sure.
Don't be arrogant, but man, be confident. You know? And it's not arrogance if you can prove it and do it.
Yeah, I ain't bragging if you can do it.
It ain't bragging.
That's right.
That's true.
So that's what I would say to that 20-year-old.
Yeah, that's good. And
That's
success
pretty
breeds
powerful. That's
success
pretty
breeds
awesome.
confidence too. I think the more you do
It
things, the
does.
more the more things are old. You go, I can do that because I've done it before. Past this prologue.
Then you
so.
got to get past like, don't be lazy.
Yeah.
Don't do what you did in the past. Come up with some new stuff.
Sure.
To get to enrich it, keep enriching it. That's hard. It gets
Yeah.
harder.
That's what makes life fun though.
Well, that's what we do and one of the things we go through with leadership is the Craig Rochelle Leadership Podcast, and one of the things that he preaches is that success is a killer of future success. Do you know what I mean? Because it can make you complacent or lazy or whatnot. So
well, I mean that chase, and I think going back to that, you get people that are professional athletes, and they've got all or bands, bands that were just their first album was just amazing, and then the rest they stink because now they're all rich and the struggle's gone.
Correct.
The struggle kind of is what hones that
Man,
product.
that's the truth. Yeah.
And once you've gotten that brass ring, I totally can see how people are like, I've made it. My motivator's gone.
My motivator's gone.
I mean, what do you do now? And I think that's probably an age old from the beginning of time. That story, Well, I won't go into the story.
I was gonna say
I won't talk about
put
it.
more in my head too, but no, that's good. Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming in today and spending time with us. I really enjoy it.
I'm so pleased to be
always.
here.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming.
Appreciate your friendship and
Absolutely.
colleague with my wife and good
Absolutely.
stuff. And love the clinic and the people here, man. Good stuff. You built something great.
Well, thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much
That
for
means a
that.
lot.
Yeah.
Well, you can catch us every Monday somewhere around 10:30 or 11 and on any of the podcast channels. So I'm Emily King.
I'm Richie King.
Dr. Tom Faust.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time on Five Boys in a Business.
We're out.